Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we're going to be answering a question that was asked to me on last week's Friday night live stream. And that question was quite simply, if you could only get one premium ship, what would it be? Now, there are several ships that I had to choose from. As you can tell by the background footage, I went with the Massachusetts. Now, the Massachusetts is a fantastic Tier 8 premium ship. It's not hard to obtain. You don't have to go through any loops or anything to get it. You don't have to grind any super de-duper rare resources like Wargaming likes to make you do nowadays. But she's a great ship. She's a Tier 8 premium ship. She has a nice mix of characteristics from the German battleship line and the American battleship line, being that she has the main batteries and secondaries of a German battleship. Well, they have the characteristics of a German battleship. She has 9 16-inch guns that have a sigma of 1.7, but they still have American dispersion. So while dispersion on them is not that great, they are still more accurate than Germans, mainly because you do have 9 guns versus 8 guns like the tier 8 and above, well, until you get tier 10, Germans do have. So you got 9 guns with American dispersion, but with German sigma. So they're not accurate, but they're not, kind of, like if you played Germans back in the day before they gave them the buff that they have now, it was kind of painful to watch all your shells miss the target from 10 kilometers away. They're not that bad. They're consistent. They're consistent in their dispersion, so you kind of know what to expect after you play the Massachusetts for a while. Plus, the secondaries are very, very, very nice. You can push them out to about 11.3 kilometers with a secondary build, and they are American secondaries, so they're quite accurate. Now, the German secondaries, they do have more range, and they get more accurate secondaries on most of their ships, but on the American battleships, starting from tier 8 going up, American secondaries are actually pretty accurate, but they don't really have the range to be useful. Now, there are people that used to swear up and down by a Montana secondary build, which you could get it out to about 8 kilometers, but they didn't really have the fire rate to be worth it. The Massachusetts has the fire rate on her secondaries to be worth it. They come in at 4 seconds flat, but if you build into it with a secondary module, that will decrease them. And then if you go with Adrenaline Rush, and as you take damage in the Massachusetts, that's going to decrease your reload as well, until you have basically a non-stop rain of secondaries of showering down upon your enemies. Now, the other thing about the American secondaries, which do make them a bit more balanced, is that unlike the Germans, they don't really do their damage through pins. They do their damage through fires. And they have a 5% chance of starting a fire per shell, so you got 20 secondary guns on your Massachusetts. So, and if you have nano secondaries, you're going to really only have 10 of those guns firing at one moment in time. But still, 10 guns firing every 3.5 seconds, you're going to set a couple of fires like that. But against some light cruisers and destroyers, the secondaries as well, they have enough penetrating power to deal with them and chew them up and spit them out. So she's good in that regards. And also, I almost forgot to mention 2 other things. Her AA is also pretty good. It used to be very, very, very good back in the day, before the CV rework. Massachusetts was an absolute plane blender. She actually only has, I believe, 4 less AA guns than the Alabama, which was a plane blender back in the day, and still today most carrier players avoid Alabamas altogether. Even some tier 10 carrier players do, because she will still chew through your planes quite efficiently. And her torpedo protection is very good for a ship that's designed for brawling. Most brawling battleships, their downside is that their torpedo protection is not great, because that's the price you pay to have a nice brawling battleship apparently. But the Massachusetts doesn't get that. She gets some very nice, I believe her torpedo damage reduction is in like the upper 40s, like 46%. The Alabama has 54% torpedo damage reduction. So they kind of took that part of the Alabama and shaved it off. And for those of you that don't know, We actually got the Massachusetts because the Massachusetts was one of the versions of the Alabama that were being tested, and apparently we're going to decide to go with the current Alabama that we have now, and then release that version in the Alabama as the Massachusetts, which, that's a good deal. I mean, I still see lots of Alabamas, but I see way more Massachusettses than Alabamas. So that's her positive sides. Now her downside, oh my god, I almost forgot this too. She has a fantastic heal. She has what I like to call the Massachusetts heal. It's like a Force-Bite heal. It repairs a whole lot of damage, and it cools down really fast. If you have the Jack of all trades captain skill and the consumable cooldown flag, you're going to get a very fast cooldown time on this heal. It's in the 40 seconds if you throw all of that into it. And of course she has a lovely American damage con where it's active for 20 seconds, and during those 20 seconds obviously no fires or floods are going to get started on your ship, so that is very nice. Okay, now to her downsides. So like I said, her guns are not as accurate as the other American battleships, and her armor is her biggest downside. This is a ship that's meant to brawl, and she doesn't really have the armor for it. That's why she gets the nice heal. Even with that nice heal, the way the armor is, it's, if you ever fought against I mean, I'm sure most of you have fought against Massachusetts, and you guys know how easy they are to Citadel, but the American battleships all around from this tier on up are not difficult to Citadel. They have exposed Citadels. Well, the Iowa and Montana actually don't, but the tier 8 does. North Carolina didn't get her Citadel lowered at all, so it's still exposed, and same is true for Alabama and Massachusetts. Not hard to Citadel. If you've ever played a battleship and you're shot at in North Carolina, you know that you're pretty much going to Citadel it. That holds true for Alabama and Massachusetts. Even when you're angled in Massachusetts, you're still gonna eat pins from whatever you're fighting, unless it's got like 14-inch guns. Because even when I'm fighting against Bismarck and I'm angled to them, and trust me, you're gonna want to be angled. Don't listen to yourself, because you want to get those secondaries going on target. You're still going to eat pins from whatever you're fighting if it's a battleship. And that's the thing about North Carolina. North Carolina's a great ship. I held off on selling her for the longest time. I just really needed the credits to buy the aggressive curve first, so I sold her to get the curve first. But in that ship, if you stay bow on, and I find it funny that the playstyle that North Carolina is like perfect for the playstyle today. If you stay bow on, you'll be fine in the North Carolina and in the Massachusetts and in the Alabama. But in all three of those ships, you're going to want to try to angle out to get your third turret on target. Don't do that. In the Massachusetts, you're going to want to do it to get your third turret on target and your secondaries. Don't do that. Don't listen to that part of yourself. Just stay bow on when you've got a couple of ships in front of you, and you'll be fine. But anyway, so that, of course, is the biggest downside of the Massachusetts, and it is a big downside in a ship that's meant to brawl. But in the ships like the North Carolina and the Alabama, it's not that big of a deal, because staying bow onto the enemies is, what they're meant to do anyway. But in the Massachusetts, who's designed to brawl, it's not meant to do that, so that's a big downside. But I do think that the heal and the nice damage con do certainly make up for it. And when played properly, the Massachusetts is a terrifying ship to fight against. I've been on the receiving end of it many times because it is a popular ship, and in the Massachusetts, I do better in this ship than I do in the other two brawling American battleships, the Georgia and the Ohio, because you have more guns, and at your tier, you're more powerful than those ships are at their tier. And yes, the Georgia does have 18-inch guns along with the Ohio, but they have less guns. Georgia has 6, Ohio has 8, and Georgia is stupid fast, don't get me wrong, but, that speed doesn't do damage. Sure, you can run down destroyers in the Georgia if you want to, but, I mean, you're not going to get that many damage off of destroyers, and in the Massachusetts, destroyers, they try to torpedo you, then they get spotted, then your secondaries chew them up, and destroyer players have been doing that since I've been playing at Massachusetts, and I don't think they're going to stop doing that anytime soon. It's just like all the battleship players that sell in straight lines. They're not a rare breed, and they're not going to be a rare breed. But it's such a fantastic ship to use once you get used to it. The gameplay you are watching at the beginning of this video, I actually went AFK a couple of times in it to go deal with some family stuff, and I still did I think 120, 130,000 damage that game. And I was AFK for a decent chunk of it. And the footage you're watching right now, I'm kind of showing you that You can take a lot of damage in Massachusetts, but it does cost you your health. You can't tank too much in the Massachusetts. You can do it a good amount because of the hill, but in today's world of, just HE everywhere and carriers that can get through your AA, you can't tank as well as you used to, but you can still tank. Just, it is your role as a battleship to do it, but Massachusetts doesn't do it all that well. It needs time to recover because, yes, you do have a fast cooldown time when you heal, but when you're facing 2 or 3 ships at once, you kind of need to back off, and if you can, because I know you will get outnumbered sometimes, and you will die. That's how the game works. But if you want to survive, you need to back off, go undetected, or something, or make sure you don't go anywhere alone, so you have someone you can kind of fall back behind, and then repair, and then repeat. But it's a lovely battleship, and I still would pick it over the Georgia and the Ohio, which I do love them, don't get me wrong, but I would pick the Massachusetts over those 2 ships, and even over some of the super cruiser alternatives. I would still pick the Massachusetts because it's just so much fun, and I love it. And if you don't have it, I recommend you get it. Fantastic ship, well worth the money. This is a ship I will guarantee you will not regret buying if you do get it. It is a lovely ship, worth every penny, and I know it is kind of expensive because it is a tier 8 premium, but still, it's well worth it. You'll get a blast out of it. I love it. I will continue to love it, and hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. And if you like the video, please drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Tell me what your favorite premium ship of all time is. And if you can only get one, what would you choose? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, hope you're having a great day. Hope you're staying safe and healthy. And hope to catch you guys in the next one.